The reason why I want to invite everybody today to stop paying attention to their light is because the light that is entering your eyes is profoundly impacting the way you see yourself, the way you see the world around you. Because what I want to plant into your consciousness is that light is information, and this information is subconsciously processed by the body to inform every cell, every organ, every gland about the time of the day.
Welcome to Ayik Kafa podcast. I have Roudy Nassif with me. He's the founder and CEO of VivaRays glasses that I recently ordered. Hopefully when I land to New York, I'm going to be receiving them. He's an engineer. He's also expert on health, sleep, light, so many things. And due to his own shortcomings in a way, starting by his childhood, and nowadays he's trying to educate people about how to best take care of their health, especially around light and outside light, artificial light and whatnot. Welcome, Roudy. It's a pleasure to have you as a guest. We tried this a couple of times. Finally, we're here.
Yes, thank you for having me. I'm glad that we were able to synchronize and make this happen.
Roudy, let me start by explaining how I started using the glasses and then I found you. I've been wearing especially the very, very dark red ones for now maybe about 5 years. It really changed my sleep quality. I really see that. And then over time, I started noticing the other shades of these glasses. I didn't start wearing them up until very recently. I want to say maybe half of a year, actually. I wasn't aware of the harmful effect of the artificial lights. I was just focusing on, I want to have a good night's sleep. Therefore, when I watch my huge screen TV in the bed, I don't want that huge light effect on me. Then when I started wearing the yellow tinted glasses when I'm inside, especially in the studio, in the recording, there's so many lights around me, in my study as well, I started seeing even more changes, in the way that my sleep is deeper. I am able to focus more, actually, strangely enough. And then when I was not wearing them, every light was disturbing me. Being in a place too lit, or even I'm at a dinner where there are artificial lights as well as these very close-up candle lights. And then I was like, oh my God, I never realized that any light around me too bright is so disturbing to my eye. Then in my researches, I was able to see your profile and listen to a couple of your podcasts. And honestly, you're the only person that I just finally found that has a lot of information in depth and very scientific information about these glasses, why we should wear it, when not to wear it. And then even more so, I understood your other specialty, how important to be outside. So thank you again for being here. How did your journey start?
When I was a kid at school, I really struggled with a lot of headaches, agitation, and inability to focus. And my teachers labeled me with ADHD. I really wanted to be outside in the sun, and they wanted to force me back into the educational system, which felt like a prison cell to me. And that was a major struggle to me because it completely disconnected me from my intuition as a kid. And fast forward, I landed in engineering school, and by that time I became completely disoriented. I started living like a night owl, feeling wired all night, exposed to a lot of artificial lights. And I would wake up the second day feeling exhausted and drained, feeling like I've been chewed up and spat out by life, constantly unmotivated, never up for much. And the lowest point was when I was fired from my job as an engineer. So after graduating, I was working as an engineer for about 4 or 5 years. I remember waking up feeling literally like a truck has ran over me. I was completely paralyzed with sadness and fatigue, and I couldn't find a compelling reason to leave bed or bring myself to get up. It was like a very intense time. So after the event, I decided to completely let go of my career. I did no longer care about the image I was trying to pursue to please others around me. I decided to start traveling into the unknown completely and to start learning from different health experts so I could improve my mental health and well being. And during my travel, I was learning from so many different health gurus and doctors, a lot of nutritionists. I found myself in a very confusing scene, to be honest, because each one of them was saying something that contradicted with what the other was saying. And I found myself in this scene of eat this, don't eat that, take this supplement, no, that supplement. And it was all too much complicated and very confusing. No matter how many diet I tried, and no matter how many expensive supplements I bought, like nothing seemed to help. I was still struggling with my sleep and with my mood. I remember thinking to myself, oh my God, like there's something wrong with me perhaps. Or like, why does it need to be that complicated? Shortly after, I was lost in the vastity of the internet and I found a video by a neurosurgeon. His name is Jack Kruse. Video is called Artificial Light is Killing Us. Ironically, it was 1 a.m. in the morning and I'm blasted with all this artificial light on my face. And my mind was extremely foggy at the time, and everything he was explaining about light and health literally flew over my head. But then I woke up the second morning and there was one line literally stood out and kept coming into my consciousness, and it said, you can't get healthy in the same light environment that made you sick. That was a complete new concept to me. I mean, every health guru that I was speaking or that I was like listening to, they were talking about diet, exercise, supplements. Nobody ever talked about light. And by light here, he was referring to all the lights that we're exposed to all the time when we are indoors, from our LED lights, like the bulbs we're surrounded with, the screens, the phones. And having tried all the different health diets and supplements without any long lasting benefits, I decided I have nothing to lose. Let me try this. So I looked up a farm up in northern Canada and I applied to go volunteer with these indigenous people up north because that was the only place I have found where I could escape artificial lighting. Sure enough, I arrived there and for 6 weeks I had a phenomenal experience. I was sleeping in my tent, exposed only to natural sunlight during the day, and fire and candlelight in the evening. And the thing is that within a matter of 3 days only, it didn't take that long, I felt a transformation that I hadn't felt in 25 years. My intense headaches and eye strains disappeared. And thinking of myself as a night owl who can't sleep before 2 a.m., I literally start sleeping shortly after the sunset, naturally, to then wake up at dawn with no alarm clock every morning, feeling fresh, energized, and infused with an exhilarating sense of joy. And you're talking about someone who was like deeply depressed a few days before that. So I was feeling on top of my world, and my motivation was literally scaling to new heights. And having been told that I'm an ADHD kid that can't focus, for the first time ever in the field, I feel this warm hand from the farmer tapping on my shoulder and praising me at the level of the focus I was showing on the field. And that was pretty unusual. I when I heard this, I was tearing up and I felt like, this intense energy traveling up my spine. And for the first time in 23 years, somebody tells me that I am focused. And what I realized that something in my paradigm completely shifted in that moment. Because for so many years, I was associated with an old paradigm where I was the depressed, unfocused, tired, exhausted kid. And for the first time ever in that field, nature completely shook my paradigm. I was able to see myself from a fresh new eye, where I was the motivated, focused, exhilarated, inspired kid that I've always known myself to be when I was 3 or 4 years old, before being forced into the educational system. And interestingly enough, I was asking myself, like, how did that happen? I didn't change my diet. I didn't take any supplements. I didn't do any of the complicated stuff that the health gurus were asking me to do. And after 6 weeks, I came back to the city. And within a matter of few weeks, I started literally falling into my old terrible routine of staying up late, being exposed to artificial lights. And when you are in the city, it's difficult because everywhere you go, you're surrounded by LED lights. It's not only your phone, it's not only your screen, it's not only your television, it's all the LED bulbs that you're surrounded with in your living room, in your kitchen, down the streets, in the mall, and the airport. And what I realized, oh my God, like it only took few weeks and I'm back to feeling depressed, to feeling exhausted, not sleeping well, not being able to focus. So, being the curious soul that I am, I was very curious to understand what was it that was creating that massive contrast, and what is it about light that profoundly impact our health. And this was the beginning of 7 year journey so far, where I was discovering the profound impact of light and health. And for the first time, I was no longer viewing light as something superficial that makes vision possible. Because when you're looking at light, we all take light for granted. We think light is something that allow us to see the world around us. And while this is true, the function of light extends way beyond vision. And in fact, it wasn't until the 1970s that science first recognized that light entering the eyes is actually programming our endocrine system, our nervous system, and our circadian system. And combined, light is profoundly programming every aspect of our health and well being. So, when we start viewing light as a drug and as the primarily boss that is instructing all of the neurochemistry and all of the hormones in our brain that control the way we think, the way we feel, and the way we act. It controls our metabolism, our ability to digest food, our fertility hormones. It's like massive. And it happens primarily via the way of the eye. So the light that is entering our eyes is literally subconsciously deciding how good your sleep is, what mood you are in, how much energy you have, how well you can focus, and how much you can get done. It profoundly changes how you see yourself and how you view the world around you. It creates reality. And I've been really taken light as something not important, unfortunately, but fundamentally it is the source of everything. And no matter which diet you are in, no matter which supplement you are taking, no matter which health protocol you are trying to engage in on a daily basis, if you do those things under a junk light environment, the chances are most of these things will not work as much as they would if you were to be living in an environment that is providing you with nourishing light during the day and with nourishing darkness at night, because it's this light and dark patterns that reset every rhythm in our body. And every cell, every hormone, every gland has a clock sitting in front of it that instruct the body about when to do what. And it's this light and darkness that is informing the millions of the cells in our body about the timing of the day and the timing of the season.
Wow, that's very, very profound, and too many things are affected, it seems like. I was just thinking it was the sleep. Is it coming with the sleep because of the lack of the sleep that all these are affected, like the digestion and the hormones and etc., or on a different pathway?
Yeah, it comes with sleep and in a different pathway. So, for example, there's a biochemist back in the 1970s. He discovered that so many enzymes that are related to metabolism and absorption of food are activated by frequencies of sunlight. So much so that they become 500% more effective. And what does that mean for an enzyme to become 500% more effective? It means that you become 5 times better at absorbing any food that enters your body and being able to assimilate that food into nutrition, into your blood. And that also means that you'll probably be a lot more efficient at metabolizing food, so much so that you don't need as much of it. So that's only one tiny example. I mean, sleep is massive for sure. And when you lack sleep, you lack everything else. And light and darkness is the most two profound forces that control how well we sleep and how rested and energized we feel when we first wake up. Because, sleeping is pretty subjective. Many people tell you, oh, yeah, I sleep very well. I sleep for 8 hours. I sleep for 10 hours. But are you really getting a profoundly restful night's sleep? You can only answer this question when you pay attention to how you feel when you wake up. Do you wake up with a big smile on your face, feeling rested, energized, exhilarated, and ready to kickstart your day? Or do you wake up feeling exhausted after 8 hours of sleep? And chances are, a lot of people today, they do wake up feeling tired. This became so normalized. The danger of that is when this becomes normal, you don't realize that there's a reality that exists outside of that box where true quality sleep is waiting for you out there. And I see this all the time because I have a lot of friends that I have conversation with, and they tell me, "Oh, Rudy, I sleep really good." I'm like, "Really?" And then I ask them a few questions, and what I do realize is it's not until they come and visit me in my house where I live in complete alignment with light and darkness, and I coach them to get proper sunlight during the day and no artificial lights at night.
Let me ask you, how do you live?
Oh, at the moment, if I have to use any form of artificial light, I will be using my glasses. And if I don't have to use artificial light, which oftentimes I don't, I will be using candlelight and Himalayan salt lamps lit with incandescent bulbs. So very low level of light and very warm lighting. And technically, most people are like, oh my God, like, how can you do this? There's a lot that we need to get done at night because, we have a lot of work, we're busy. And the reality is, when you start living in alignment with nature's light and dark cycles, you start getting a lot done during the day. And when you get a lot done, when you tap into your productivity and your creative container, which is supposed to be in the hours when sunlight is up, you will get so much done, so much so that early evening, you feel a sense of deep satisfaction. And intrinsically and in your core that now it's time to slow down and give yourself a reset so that you can come back the second day with the same vigor, with the same vitality, and with the same energy. All of this is subconsciously controlled by the circadian rhythm. Circadian comes from the Latin word circa and dia, which means approximately a day or 24 hours. So, what are we talking about here? We're talking about this rhythmic ebb and flow of 24-hour period that we all go through, animals, plants, and humans. In fact, I don't know if you know, but plants, first thing in the morning, they direct their leaves towards sunlight to harness sunlight energy. And when the sun goes down, they drop their leaves down to conserve energy and to rest. As humans, also, we go through this daily cycle of light and darkness. And throughout evolution, this cycle decided how we behaved. We are designed to be active, foraging, hunting, getting things done during the day when the sun is up. And we're designed to rest, repair, and rejuvenate when the sun is down. And the primary signal to activate the programs of rejuvenation and anti-aging, what we like, people are obsessed with anti-aging and obsessed with taking antioxidants, but what they don't realize is darkness, or the absence of artificial light after the sunset, is the primary signal that would activate all your evolutionary programs within your body so that your cells can clean themselves, so that your brain can clean itself, your eyes clean themselves at night, your liver, every organ in your body.
That's wonderful. So does these, the most dark, the darkest red ones would be mimicking the complete darkness, or?
It will all depend on how harsh and bright the artificial lighting is around you. The lenses from VivaRays, the nighttime red ones, and not every red lenses is the same. I've tested a dozen of them. They do different things. And their efficiency in decreasing the brightness is very different. Their efficiency in eliminating blue and green is very different. Now, why blue and green? Because on the spectrum of sunlight, blue and green light are high frequency colors. Appear first thing in the morning and they start rising, adding up to that blend of sunlight. And these are the primary frequencies that activate the proteins in the eye called melanopsin. And there's some other opsins in the eye beyond melanopsin that capture light information. But technically, these opsins or photosensitive cells, they capture light information. They're like little sensors sitting in the eye. And they convert that light into electricity that travels in through the optic nerve at a very high speed and goes into the center clock in the hypothalamus, telling the brain that it's daytime. And when we view that light after the sunset, it literally confuses our brain into thinking it's daytime when it's actually nighttime. And that is absolutely tragic because it changes the production and the manufacturing of all of our hormones. Instead of producing melatonin, the sleep hormone and the highest antioxidant in nature, the body starts accidentally producing cortisol, the stress hormone, or the hormone that you're supposed to secrete first thing in the morning to give you that spike of alertness and energy to kickstart your day. And then you get that fake illusionary message that you're good at getting things done at night. Whereas the reality is you're just sitting in the wrong light environment, and light being a drug triggering the wrong hormone is putting you under the illusion that you are really good at getting things done at night. But this approach is not sustainable. You could do this for one day, for 1 week, for a few months, for a few years. But the reality is you are swimming against your biological evolution. And that takes a lot of effort, a lot of energy. It puts the body and the cells under a lot of strains. It causes us to age faster. It causes the body to break down its metabolic process because we're designed to be metabolically optimal during the day and to be resetting those metabolic systems at night after we get that signal of darkness. So to answer your question about the red lenses, different red lenses do different things, but I'm going to talk about the VivaRays glasses. Those are designed to decrease the brightness by 15 times and to eliminate all blue and green light. So if you were to be, let's say, in a supermarket at 8 p.m. and you're wearing these glasses, the light in the supermarket, they're very, very highly bright. And those will absolutely decrease the negative impact that your brain will be feeling when you're exposing yourself to those light after the sunset.
So in a way, with these glasses, we're mimicking, if we're not able to create an environment like where you're living now. I think it's in Mexico. I also heard you say a couple of things. One is, do not wear sunglasses when you're out. Can you please tell me why? First of all, it became a fashion statement. Second of all, we just feel, I guess, more comfortable. But how you explain it has so much importance and logic behind.
Sunglasses are the biggest endocrine disruptor in today's world. Now, why is that? For many reasons. Imagine you have a plant in your house and then you cover that plant with a black shade. What happens to that plant?
Dies.
It's gonna die in a few days. Now the argument is, oh yes, because plants, photosynthesize, but we as humans don't. But this is not necessarily true. Albert Einstein discovered the photoelectric effect. And what the photoelectric effect taught us is that when light shines on matter, it generates electricity. It actually excites the electrons in that matter and it generates an electric current. Now, how is that important to us as human beings, and what does it have to do with our health and well-being? knowing that plants photosynthesize, we also know the compound that is responsible for photosynthesis in plants. It's called chlorophyll. And chlorophyll is profoundly very similar to a compound in us called hemoglobin that is responsible for transporting oxygen to the cells. Now, chlorophyll and hemoglobin, they both have very similar structure, with one thing that is profoundly different. At the center of a chlorophyll, there's a magnesium atom with 12 different electrons. Whereas at the center of a hemoglobin, we have 26 different electrons because we have an iron atom. So that's almost more than a double the amount of electrons that a hemoglobin carries compared to a chlorophyll. And having more electrons means we have the capacity to capture, convert, assimilate, store, and make use of light energy a lot more profoundly than plants do. So, as human beings, we do photosynthesize. When we put sunglasses, we're just blocking ourselves from that frequency of light that our body use to convert into work, literally. We understand today that when sunlight enters our eyes, results in the production of a molecule called POMC, propiomelanocortin. It's composed of 240 something amino acids, and it's the precursor of so many different hormones and peptides in the body. Now, what activates the production of POMC is UVA light from sunlight. 100% of UV is blocked by sunglasses. Now, POMC could become so many different things, one of which is alpha MCH and beta MCH and gamma MCH. Now, alpha MCH is basically what allow you to produce the melanocytes in the skin to produce melanin. Melanin is the compound that allows you to tan. So with that being said, if you rewind a little bit what I said, what I'm saying here is when UV light enter our eyes, the brain sends a signal to activate the production of alpha MCH, which stimulate the production of melanocyte to produce melanin and allow us to tan. So that mechanism of UV entering our eyes is nature's natural sunscreen. And when we block that UV from entering our eyes and we sit in sunlight, we are much more likely to burn. That's one very little thing of how sunglasses are massively disrupting our biology. Another thing, lack of alpha MCH is linked with overeating and obesity. Now, why is that? Because it turns out that when alpha MCH rises, it suppresses our desire to eat. And I think we've all experienced this on a beautiful day on the beach, where we're spending the day in sunlight, and by the end of the day we realize, oh my god, like the day have passed and I did not eat anything, and I feel so satisfied, I feel so happy, I feel so exalted.
You're right.
So that is tied also to alpha MCH. Alpha MCH and beta MCH are also very strong anti-inflammatories. Particularly beta MCH helps with blood pressure. So how many people today are struggling with blood pressure and they are on blood pressure medicines? Why? Why do we need to put people on blood pressure medicine if we can simply ask them to go and be in sunlight and expose themselves to proper amount of UV light in safe way? Like, I could sit down and talk for hours about all the different hormones and peptides that are connected to exposure to light entering via the way of the eyes. And when we put sunglasses on, we are disrupting our endocrine system. We're disrupting our ability to burn fat properly. We're suppressing our libido. We are disrupting our fertility hormones, disrupting our cortisol level and our dopamine. In fact, UV entering the eyes convert tyrosine, the amino acid tyrosine, into dopamine. And dopamine is this miraculous molecule that allows us to sit down and pay attention, think outside of the box, see the bigger picture in life, and have the motivation to go after what we really want in life. Now, what's the number one thing I perceive when I sit down with young people? They struggle with attention. They struggle with motivation. They don't know why they're here for, and they can't see the bigger picture. They're so zoomed in about like the day-to-day problems. They're distracted with social media, with everything happening around them, and they deeply struggle to sit down and pay attention. They deeply struggle to come back to the same project time after time and do deep work in order to get something done. And that is tied to lack of sunlight exposure. That is also tied to exposure to artificial light at night, because it turns out Dr. Samer Hittar, he's a circadian biologist, he published a paper showing how artificial light, particularly in the blue and green range, entering the eyes at night, activates an area in the brain called the habenula, known as the disappointment center. When artificial light enters your eyes after the sunset, it suppresses the release of dopamine the following morning, really decreasing your memory and cognition and increasing the likelihood of you waking up feeling unsatisfied and unmotivated. And back to my story, right? Before I went to the farm, I woke up every day feeling exhausted, feeling like a truck has ran over me. I had no motivation, I had no focus. I was really struggling. And I thought there's something wrong with me. I thought it was about me. But the reality is, I was in an environment that was not helping me to produce the right neurochemistry that was controlling the way I think, I feel, and I act. If you sum up all of this, light do create reality. And the reason why I want to invite everybody today to start paying attention to their light is because the light that is entering your eyes is profoundly impacting the way you see yourself, the way you see the world around you. And when you bring that same person and you put them in two different light environments, one in nature where they are nourished by a balanced frequency of light, and then take that same person and put them in an artificially lit room under LEDs, they will not be able to think from the same place. They will not be able to feel the same thing. They will not be able to act from the same place. The person who's in nature under proper lighting will have access to hormones that will allow them to act in a calm way, in a more strategic way, in a more inspired way. Whereas that same person under artificial light will feel anxious, will feel wired, will feel stressed, and will be jumping from one thing to another, seeking short-term validation. In fact, lack of dopamine is the primary reason why most people get addicted to sugar, to scrolling on social media, to carbs, to pornography, to all the different addictions, right?
Let me ask you, because you're lucky to live in a more nature dominant place. It seems like you changed a couple of countries up until you found your nest. And you've been explained that you have 360 windows around you, so you don't need to have light. But also there's the reality, there are big business buildings, high-rise buildings, the schools, like in the studio, we're here, everywhere is dark, therefore we need light. I don't want to be bargaining, but what would be the minimum amount necessary one needs to spend outside if they need to work inside? Because, with today's lifestyle, if you don't live out in the woods, or you're lucky enough to live, let's say, in south of Turkey, the lifestyle is outside. If you're living in a big metropolitan city, there's no way you're not going to be facing artificial lights, whether at night or in the daytime. But let's focus to the daytime. You work inside, you spend most of your time under the artificial light. What one needs to do without sunglasses outside, what would be at least, spend 1 hour, 2 hours? Is there a number? Is there a time?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great question. I will share some steps for anybody that could implement easily and instantly to optimize sleep, energy, and health. In fact, even though I am in Mexico right now, in my happy place, most often I'm traveling and teaching, and I am exposed to a lot of artificial lights. So when this happens, the first step is waking up first thing in the morning, going outside and getting morning sunlight for at least 15 to 20 minutes if the sky is open and there's no clouds. If it's an overcast day or like it's super cloudy day, then all you need to do is spend more time outside. And depending on how cloudy it is, if it's really overcast, probably like 40 to 60 minutes walk first thing in the morning will allow you to get photons, the right amount of photons entering your eyes and activating your circadian clock in the proper way. Now, the step number two is being exposed to UVA. So by now, hopefully, you can make the association about like why UV is a very important frequency. The UVA does not rise when the sun is rising. In fact, the moment the sun is rising, it's UV free because UV is a very high frequency, low wavelength type of light that gets filtered out by the atmosphere when the sun is very low on the horizon. And it's not until the sun is about like 10 to 15 degrees above the horizon that UVA will rise. So, how do you know when exactly it will rise? I recommend to download an app called the Circadian Lifestyle. And I will share a link with you after the podcast so that you can add it to the description. So anyone who's listening could easily like find the app and download it. And the beauty of this app will take your geographical location and it will tell you exactly when the sun rises, when it sets, when UVA appears, when UVB appears. And all of these are important times to be outside. So when the app tells you, let's say 9 a.m., UVA is rising, that's a very important time to go outside for at least another 10 to 15 minutes. Now, step number three, you are in your office, you're surrounded by a lot of artificial lighting, and there's no escape from it. That's totally fine. All you need to do is wearing the VivaRays daytime lenses. And those are not blue blockers, they're blue harmonizers. And what does that mean? They are designed to harmonize the inflammatory frequency coming from LED bulbs and screens without eliminating the blue, and while maximizing the blue turquoise that your brain needs to know that it's daytime and help you maintain high energy level during the day. Many people today, they wear these dark tinted yellow during the day, and those eliminate the blue light at 455 nanometer, that spike, that inflammatory spike coming from LEDs. Okay, so now that I had to close my window, for example, because of the noise, I would definitely put the glasses on because the window will filter out a lot of the beneficial frequencies coming from sunlight in a very unbalanced way. And then the moment I closed the window, I could feel also that the artificial lighting from the light rings are a lot more dominating the natural lighting that is coming from outside right now. So I'm wearing the VivaRays daytime blue light harmonizers. I explained a little bit what those are. And I was also saying about the importance of not wearing blue blockers during the day because many of the daytime blue blockers that other companies are selling, they eliminate the blue light at 455 nanometer, which could be good for headaches and eye strain. But the tragedy of it is when you eliminate all of the blue at 455, you wipe out 90% of the blue turquoise at 480 nanometer, which is the frequency of light that our photoreceptors in the eyes are most sensitive to. They are weighting this frequency to tell the brain that it's daytime. And as a consequence, when we wear the wrong blue blockers during the day, it suppresses our energy levels down and we start feeling tired and exhausted at the wrong time of the day. Okay, so to recap a little bit, we said morning sunlight and then tracking the time of UVA and going outside for 10 to 15 minutes, getting that UVA. Step number three, when we are indoors, exposed to artificial lighting, wearing the VivaRays daytime glasses. Step number four, it's not enough to wear those glasses because they are addressing some unbalanced effect coming from light. They are decreasing that inflammatory frequency, helping your eyes to relax and helping you to maintain high energy level. But they are not still getting you that full spectrum light that you need during the day. And therefore, it's very important on step number four to be conscious and put an alarm perhaps every 2 hours, 3 hours or so, and then take a sun break. Go outside, get fresh sunlight into your eyes and as much of your skin as possible for 5 to 10 minutes. And it will make a massive difference. It will increase your energy level up. It will decrease your anxiety. In fact, that sunlight during the day is known to increase blood flow via nitric oxide production. It's also has been shown to decrease the heart rate down and decrease blood pressure. And all of this makes you more calm and much less tense and much less anxious. Now, step number
Five.
five, when the sun is setting, get into the habit of being outside and witnessing the sunset directly or indirectly. Because what I want to plant into your consciousness is that light is information, and this information is subconsciously processed by the body to inform every cell, every organ, every gland about the time of the day. And when the sun is setting, that slowly fading blue and green light, turning into more orange and then slowly into darkness, sends a signal to the nervous system and to the endocrine system that the day is ending. And therefore, you start decompressing, winding down, and the body start preparing subconsciously without you needing to do anything. It prepares the right hormones for a restful night's sleep. So that's a very, very important step. And then step number 6, when the sun sets, clipping on your evening lenses. Because otherwise, you will be exposed to the second alien sun from the artificial lights, which will completely disrupt all of the rhythm that you've built throughout the day. The light will enter the eyes, it will tell the brain it's daytime, it will increase your stress hormone, it will increase your ghrelin, the hunger hormone. It makes you want to go eat at a time when you're not supposed to eat, because it's really not good to eat before bed. The organs are supposed to be rejuvenating and not digesting food. And also, you can't burn fat and make fat at the same time. You're either making fat or burning fat. And when you eat at night, you disrupt your ability to burn fat and you start making fat. And in fact, it's at night is the most efficient time to burn fat, because it turns out that when the eyes start perceiving darkness, when you block artificial lights at night, the sleep hormone melatonin will rise, and that will cause leptin, the satiety hormone, which sits under the fat tissues in the skin, to travel up to the hypothalamus in the brain, and it upregulate your pituitary gland and increases your metabolism and your natural ability to burn fat at night. But what happens when you view artificial light at night? You literally suppress leptin, the satiety hormone, and then you increase ghrelin, the hunger hormone, all of which will cause you to go open the fridge and start eating and have no control over your hunger level. And most people try to use their willpower to control their hunger levels at night. It's very difficult to use your willpower when you're going against thousands of years of evolutionary biology. Light entering your eyes at night will make you hungry, and eliminating that light will help you to stay satisfied and to go to bed without needing food. And then step number 7, 1 hour before bedtime, you remove your evening lenses and you clip on your nighttime lenses. Now, what is the difference between the evening lenses and the nighttime lenses? You can think of the evening lenses as the beginning of the bonfire. Probably everybody listening have camped once or
Sure.
twice at least, or have been around a bonfire. And when you are around a bonfire, you probably can relate. You start feeling calm, you start feeling relaxed, you wind down. Yet you have enough energy to cook, dance, and socialize with friends. And those are the evening lenses. They will help you calm down, they will help you to wind down. Though you will still have enough energy to drive, to run your evening tasks, to cook, to do whatever you want to do in the evening, especially in the winter and the fall when the sun sets early. And then the nighttime lens, which is designed to be worn 1 hour before bed, it resembles the end of the bonfire when the wood turns into amber coil. And by that time, you're feeling cozy, you're feeling ready to go to bed. And this is the purpose of those classes. They will make it so dark, they will eliminate all the blue and the green so that the brain optimize melatonin production and growth hormone, allowing you to have restful night's sleep and waking up feeling rested and energized.
These are wonderful. I mean, that was a wonderful thing even for me, because, I was wearing glasses, maybe sometimes the right one, sometimes the wrong one, but I wasn't doing this like, UVA, UVB, going outside, exposing myself to the daylight, and not at all every 2 hours going out. Do you have glasses for the kids?
We do have glasses for the kids. So our kids collection, they're called the 2-in-1. They have the daytime base frame, which protect the kids from artificial light during the day, and it harmonizes the unbalanced frequency. And then after the sunset, they have their evening lens on, which they put until they go to bed.
Yeah, because it's very important nowadays. Not only they're always on their parents' phone having plays, even if they stay away from them. Also, schools are now using computers and laptops, iPads and whatnot, and they're the youngest brains to get affected with all these artificial lights.
Absolutely. Yes. And if it is important for us, it's 10 times more important for kids because their brain is a lot more vulnerable to artificial lighting. And growth hormone at night for kids, for us, it's absolutely necessary because it will help us to grow more tissues and replace the old dysfunctional cells with new cells. For kids, it will do all of this, but it's also responsible for their development, for their brain development, their heart development. And this happens at night in response to darkness. So kids who are not getting proper darkness, they're really taking away from the time that their body make for growing their brains, for growing their organs.
This was such a good episode, Roudy, because, I really wanted to speak with you because I wanted myself to learn and also all my audience to understand really why this is an important matter. And I already have your products on my website, and we're going to add your links and the discount code. You have your VivaRays website, but you have a very interesting social media account.
Yes, so on Instagram, we share a lot of education. In fact, most of our time is designed for us to share free education. And we do this not only on social media, but on our blog post on the website. Also, when you go to our website, there's an e-booklet, which I'm going to share a link with you so that you can share it with the audience.
Okay,
The e-booklet is called Light, the Key to Mastering Your Sleep and Energy. And it's the culmination of 7 years so far of studying quantum biophysics, light, and circadian biology. But I wanted to write something that is extremely simple and very effective so that I could hand it out to a kid who could read it in a few hours, know exactly what they need to do, and elevate their light environment in order to access restful sleep, more energy, and more focus. So it's very simplified. It's focused on action steps you can take in order to elevate your light environment. So I'll add this to the description. And also, when you sign up to our email newsletter, we share an educational piece every Thursday. We have a deep dive about light and an aspect of health. And most of our community really appreciate this because they get to educate themselves about light and health more and more every Thursday.
I appreciate you being here. Thank you so much. And hopefully one of these days I see you in person somewhere.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much.